I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is a special call meeting of the Board of Trustees of Plainview ISD. Today is October 25th, 2022, and it is 12:10. Sorry about the wait, but if you will, join me in invocation. Father God, I just thank you this day for life. Thank you for the blessings that surround us. We thank you for this district. Thank you for the children and the staff. And again, we ask for your guidance in everything that we do to be in your honor and in honor of our students and staff. The decisions that are made, Father God, is for them. We just ask you for your guidance, and we pray. Amen.
Amen.
And if you will, stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
I think we've got two board members that won't be here this afternoon, so.
Okay. All right.
Judge Sanchez.
Yes, sir. Do we have any citizen comments? Okay. All right. The first item that we have for business is recommendation of Plainview ISD Chief Technology Officer. The superintendent leadership team, including Dr. Rich Berg, interviewed two qualified candidates for the position of Chief Technology Officer. The reason that the superintendent leadership team constituted the interview committee is we all work together, and we all work together as interchangeably as possible, and everyone has to know what everybody else is up to, so it made sense that that was the interview committee. And we had two really good candidates, and our hope is that the candidate that came in second place will have an opportunity for him in the district to, if the board approves, Mr. Jennings as the new Chief Technology Officer, maybe we'll get to good hires out of the interview process. I do have to say that as good as Wayne and this other gentleman may be, they are no Dr. Richburg because there's only one. And we're gonna miss him. We're gonna miss him. I never say that about me. So with that, I would like to recommend to the board Mr. Wayne Jennings for the position of Chief Technology Officer, Plainview High graduate, and Plainview longtime community member. He's been in the district well over, what did you say, 20 years? And he manages a lot of the network. And so whenever it goes down and I text y'all at like 12 at night, and then I text y'all at 8 and say it's up, that's Wayne. I mean, he's up here and he's working all through the night trying to figure out what he needs to do to get it rewired. And he does. He comes through. And so I feel that on behalf of the administration and the superintendent leadership team, he is the best candidate for the position of Chief Technology Officer. And it's great to see a gentleman promoted from within the organization to the role. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. But I do recommend Mr. Jennings for the position of CTO.
Board, any questions, comments? I did see a water tower in Littlefield with your name on it, though. Yeah. Right. So that was a sign, I believe. Any questions, comments, board? Do I hear a motion on item number 1?
I move that we recommend Mr. Wayne Jennings as the CTO for Plainview ISD.
Thank you, Ms. Bass. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Salazar. We got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passes.
All right, congratulations.
Big shoes to fill, huh?
Now you can go buy all those fancy clothes. Look like a CTO.
I'm giving mine, so I'm not gonna wear them, but
So we're real excited, and part of the reason that I'd asked you guys for this meeting is so that there can be overlap in their role and responsibility, and they can transition from Dr. Richburg to Mr. Jennings, and we can then begin pursuing somebody to fill Mr. Jennings' position in network, because he doesn't want to do both jobs, and that would be overwhelming. The one is enough. The second one we have is consideration and approval of literacy sessions for pre-K 4 grade teachers, $50 stipend for Thursday literacy sessions beginning November 3rd, 2022, January 19, 2023. I'll let Dr. Moreno talk to you a little bit more about it. The board, you approve all stipends, and so with this being a stipend, I wouldn't feel comfortable providing a stipend that isn't a board-approved stipend. It's very similar to some of the work we did with Ms. Straley's group, providing stipends to teachers that were doing some above and beyond as well. So Dr. Moreno, if you want to, you can come up front.
So basically what you see there is that due to this shortage and the need to continue developing our teachers, especially our new population of teachers that we have in Plainview ISD, we feel we cannot pull them necessarily from the classrooms to train them more in depth. So our solution, one of our solutions would be to pull them after the school, offer them a stipend, to offer some type of compensation to accelerate the learning. As we're doing instructional rounds in the schools, we noticed that we need to improve the technical core so that in turn the students can learn more as well, right? So this is kind of a support that we want to offer our teachers, and it's on a voluntarily basis. So those who want to come, it's not an obligation, but we want to offer that support with a stipend of $50 per session. The sessions are going to be in literacy training, how to teach students how to write, writer's workshop. It's going to be about depth of knowledge, how do we ask questions that really engage our students and make them think at deeper levels, right? It's going to be about reading as well. It's going to be about how to increase student talk so that in classrooms the students are the ones doing the talking and the thinking. So this is a series of sessions on Thursdays. We're calling them the Teaching Thursdays, to keep the two T's together. So starting November 3rd until January 19th. And those who really want to come and join us, we will be here in the mock classroom, the elementary mock classroom, so that we can offer that support to the teachers. So we have 40 slots that we want to open it up to. And our priority are especially the new teachers who really need more support. And it can be everybody, bilingual, general ed, English speakers, anybody can join us who want to come. Do you have any questions?
Is this just for elementary teachers, did you say?
Elementary,
Do you already have somebody that signed up or not yet?
I believe so. So we have opened the registration in Eduforia, and we have a few already who are interested. Actually, the teachers are telling us, I need to learn more about guided reading. I need to learn more about certain things. That's why the needs are there. So it's how we are bringing this to,
Dr. Moreno, how did we get to the $50 stipend? Is that just a general, is that a guideline, basically $50 is a stipend, or is it, have we
I think
done
so.
research other
That's what we
schools?
have been paying in the past, and I'm assuming that probably that it's that's what
Yes.
it is. It's a
Just a general
stipend,
stipend.
$25 an hour.
Right, it's, to try to pay everybody their hourly rate is a bit complicated, and so we just pay it kind of as an extra duty stipend, so, you would get $50, so it's kind of a pay for knowledge, so we're paying you to learn. We're really paying them for their time because it's on their own time. So we do know that it's part of the job, and we could hold them after, and we have the ability, but we think that this is a more positive way of doing it.
It will be 4 to 6 in the afternoon, and we will try to offer snacks so that they can get all the way till dinner time, to make it easier for them.
How many Thursdays are these?
It's actually every Thursday in November, so there are 2 in November because we have Thanksgiving, so it would be 2 in November, 2 in December, and 2 in January, so 2 each month. It's 6, I believe, 6 sessions total.
Okay.
So it's 50 a session, right?
Excuse me?
50 a session per person?
Yes,
I thought it was per
$50 per session,
Oh, it's $50 per
per
session.
person,
If this works out well, then would that be something that you would look at if there were intermediate and secondary teachers that were interested?
That
or-
would be something we can
Yeah.
consider. So we're going to have built-in surveys as well. And this is training that I used to do in the past as a consultant And since I'm here now, might as well use me, you know?
Right,
So,
right.
so let's do it, right? So this is why I'm happy to do it, and that's why I'm here to support in any way possible.
Perfect.
Okay, and we will be able to share the service as well if you need that information. Now we have built-in service in Eduforia because we want teacher feedback.
Have we budgeted any kind of amount, how much we're gonna spend on this?
We did budget it, it's budgeted out of 255.
255, we're gonna be using 255
which is a
federal
federal
funds.
grant. And I believe it was budgeted at 14.
40,000
14,000.
for all those sessions, if 40 people come to each session.
So we do have enough to cover the full amount if everyone attends every one of the sessions. And so that would be the hope, that we spend it all for it. But we did review that budget this morning, and we do have 14,000 set aside for this one.
And we believe this is a very needed training, especially our new teachers who need more time with building the expertise in some of the areas that we really need them to do, to implement, like small group instruction, whole group, but it's especially the writing, the thinking, framing the lesson. I mean, these are things that are going to be very useful for them.
Board, any questions, comments? Okay. All right, so this time we entertain a motion to consider the approval of the literacy session for pre-K through fourth grade teachers, $50 stipend for Thursday legacy session, November 3rd, 2022 to January 19th, 2023. Share a motion on that?
I move to approve literacy sessions for PK through 4 grade teachers with a $50 stipend.
Okay, Ms. Bass, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Rivera, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right,
Thank you.
thank you, ma'am. Motion pass.
Okay. Then the third item is a big item. Carl and I had an opportunity to walk through the old side of La Mesa, or the existing La Mesa campus. And part of what was in the scope that Carl and I didn't agree with was to paint, I call it vinyl wallpaper, but it's basically gypsum board or sheetrock with a vinyl wallpaper. And if you had been through La Mesa towards the end of its operational time, it started to peel at the edges. And what was in the scope was just to repaint that. And we didn't think that was a good use of money to repaint it, because eventually we'd have to come back and we'd have to replace it. So then the idea was, well, just pull that off. Well, once you start pulling that off, if you pull enough of it off, then you get down to the actual gypsum, or the rock that makes up the sheetrock, and it becomes real flaky. And even if it doesn't, once you paint it, put texture on it, it begins to peel off the backing of that paper. So what we would prefer to do, and it's a big change order, that and a few other things, and I'll go over all the other ones, but this is the biggest one. I didn't bring my reading glasses, and I wish I had, so I had to take a picture of it. So, gypsum overlay board, we're talking about $481,921. This is why it's so expensive. Number one, everything's gone up. But beyond that, we don't want to remove the sheetrock that's already there and replace it. That's too labor intensive and it's not necessary. But we can get 1/4-inch sheetrock, and we can overlay the existing walls and nail it to the existing studs, and then over the 1/4-inch sheetrock, tape it, float, and texture and paint. And that will hold up. What we want to do is be sure that whatever it is we build will last. And trying to paint over, vinyl wallpaper isn't going to last. It's going to peel off. But if we go over it all with sheetrock and then treat it like a new wall, it'll look right. So that's one of the big costs, is buying the sheetrock, paying for them to nail it up, and then to tape and float it. We already were going to pay for the painting and the texturing. That was already gonna be paid for, but this is the cost for the material and the labor to set it all up. Otherwise, you'd have this half of the building that looked really great, and then you'd have the other half of the building that looks like somebody painted over wallpaper. And that's not the look we want. The other big change in this is the ceiling grid. In the original scope, in the existing La Mesa site, I sent y'all all a picture of how it's a barn. Well, there's no way you can do an exposed ceiling in that thing because it just goes all the way up. I mean, with a floor, there's almost a second floor in there. You know, or with the ceiling, there's a second floor in there. I mean, it's a big space. The scope said to reuse the ceiling grid, but after we walked through and looked at the demo process they had to go through to take out the air conditioning ductwork, the ceiling grid was in tatters. And we think they tried to be careful in taking out the ductwork, but some of that, I mean, they've been there since the 80s, so it was in there pretty good. So as they started to take it out, the ceiling grid, that's very thin metal, began to break. And to try to just replace and repair the sections of the ceiling grid that had been broken and then leave the old ceiling grid, it wasn't gonna look right. Again, you have these two new elementaries, you'd have the new section, and then you'd look up and go, that doesn't look good. So to replace the entire ceiling grid and all of the tiles, because that was one of the pieces that we were looking at too, we were just gonna replace some of the tiles that were broken. We want to replace the whole thing. That cost is $326,038.75. So we feel that both of those are necessary. The other big expense that wasn't part of the scope, and this is something that we're going to go back and do at the junior high during the summer, is at the junior high, we're going to remove the stage, but our guys are going to remove the stage. And that gives us more cafeteria space, because right now, half the kids are outside while half the kids are inside during lunchtime, and then they switch. Well, when it gets cold, guess what? They're all going to be in there, and it's going to be too congested. So during the summer, we're going to take the stage out, because we have a theater room now. So we're going to take the stage out and increase the size of the cafeteria at the junior high. Well, right now, while South is under construction, it makes sense to go ahead and take the stage out of the cafeteria at South, which is downstairs. So it doesn't make sense to do it afterwards to see if they all fit in there when we know they're not. And then go, dang it, we should have taken the stage out. And then with kids in school and the rest of the building already done, we start ripping stuff out and hauling it up the stairs and tearing up the walls and the floor. It makes sense to go ahead while they're in the construction phase to go ahead and take the stage out. And so we're looking at $50,000 to take the stage out.
Actually, the stage down there, where Sunshine won't come out, that is concrete there, so what we'll have is an elevated area with tables on it there, so,
That's for the renovation.
so everybody gets,
Yeah.
understands it, it's not gonna be gone when you see it, it's still there.
Nobody want to get out their jackhammer, I suppose.
Yes, we could do that, but that 50,000 wouldn't hardly,
No.
we'd have to add a few.
The good thing is, as I mentioned, the junior high, it's a wooden stage, so it comes out. I guess when y'all dug into this one, y'all saw it was concrete. Okay. So we're looking at about $532,359. There are a few odds and ends things also worked into this. Hollow metal frames for the remodel, trash receptacles, telescoping stands, and so those are the other few things that are worked into this. But it's a big change order. I mean, it's a change order, as I mentioned, in the tune of $532,359.57. Funding-wise, we would look at pulling the contingency that was left unused from the other two elementary campuses. And that money's pretty fluid. If you'll remember, we pulled some of the contingency from South, and finished out the office complex at the junior high. Well, now we're taking money that wasn't used on the other projects and shifting it over to South to be able to do the sheet rock overlay as well as the ceiling grid and then the work in the cafeteria. So we would pull that together as well as bond interest and other funds to cover the cost. Again, I mean, we could have done it, what was in the scope, but after we walked, it just didn't look right.
If any of you have any question about this, I'll be glad to take you down and let you
Look
actually
at it.
walk through it and see what we're talking about. And, I mean, you'll see that there's just no way it's ever gonna look like the other two elementaries. There's no way. It'll look patched, pieced together.
And that's what we don't want. That's why we're asking for y'all's permission to to pull the contingency together, to authorize the change order, so that way, when you walk into the old La Mesa campus and the new campus, it looks like South instead of, oh, that's the La Mesa side and this is the new side. We want it to all flow together. And after we walked through it and looked at the sheetrock, and they tried to peel some of that vinyl paper off, and it looked bad, and it wasn't gonna work. And we looked at the ceiling grid, and it looked like, like a haunted house or something. So there was no way that it was gonna be repaired in any manner that made it look like it was intended to be that way. So we were blessed that it's been 40 years since we had a bond, and we want to do it right. I mean, we really want to do it right. We want the kids to have the same level of pride when they walk into South as they do at Central and North. And to kind of give you one final visual, all you got to do is walk into the intermediate, the new side, and then walk into the old side. Or go to the junior high and walk through that new side where the band hall is or where the science rooms are, and then walk into the regular building. And that's what it would look like, and that's what we don't want it to look like. We don't want it to look like that. It's a lot more money to do that at the intermediate and at the junior high. It's a lot less money to do it at South Elementary, because right now everything's already torn up, so we can put it back together. So that would be the recommendation that I'll make on behalf of the administration. And again, we feel that it's the best, it's more expensive, it's the best course of action to tie the campus together.
Any questions, board? Comments?
What is the extension? So we're looking at putting more of this together, right, and adding to it. So what's our timeline on, is it gonna extend the finished project, right?
No, sir, not right now. Now, if we can, if y'all decide this is what you want to do, Dr. Sanchez gets signed off on it, they can order material next week. Right now, there's a 10-week lead time on the quarter-inch sheetrock. Whatever week, 2 weeks, I mean, it's adding to it, but if we get it ordered next week, it's not gonna extend the completion. We can still have it done on time. We're hoping first part of May.
Okay.
Done completely.
Okay.
So I can understand the walls completely, because I was actually on the PTO at La Mesa when we repainted, and in 2 months, it was flaking off. So I can understand that's not gonna work, so we need to, the ceilings, so those are not gonna be exposed like the others. Now, those will be like a tile ceiling, is what you're saying?
They'll be like this. I mean, if you go to, the junior high or intermediate, look at the new sections, and you'll see, at the intermediate, if you go into the principal's office, the office area, the band director's office, you'll see the new ceiling grid. That's what it'll look like. It won't be this old style. It's different, and it's got a crisper look to it, but that's what we're looking at. And so at South, the way that Park Hill drew it up, knowing that they had to have a drop ceiling, the building has a drop ceiling except for the entryway. You walk into the entryway, and then it's an open concept, and then there's some like floating hanging ceilings here and there for decorative purposes, but you go into the classrooms and to keep it together, they did keep the drop ceiling in the building so that you wouldn't have one half with drop ceiling, one half without. So it does have drop ceiling in that facility because the old part of the building, the only way you could have done an exposed ceiling is we'd have had to redo the entire roof structure because as I mentioned, the roof structure, you could fit a whole other floor up there if it were constructed properly. It's just a lot of space that's up there. It is a prefab metal building. So it will have a ceiling, a drop ceiling, but a new drop ceiling throughout.
And then my question on the stage part would be, so that'll still be an area that they could take the tables down if they wanted to have an awards ceremony or something like that? It'll just be elevated? Is that?
Yes, ma'am, it'll still be elevated, and they can do that, move the tables out and do that, but I really think the plan is to have the gym area, I
Okay.
think,
For that
presentation
type of thing,
programs
okay.
and things like that. Now, the new gym that
Yeah.
we're building, so now, not say they couldn't use that for something like that. but
Right.
it's Still gonna be
Okay.
an elevated area.
Okay.
I just feel like, this is a big process and it's a big change, but we need to make it right. It needs to be done correctly. And I feel like if we're doing these projects all over our other schools, we need to make sure that we ensure that it's consistency across the board on those. So I found out inflation does hit hard. I went to go price a cord of wood the other day and it went up $280 from last year. And I'm not so sure how, but inflation is here, right? So that's a big change.
Park Hill shared with us that each project that goes an additional month, they factor in an additional 2.5% for the project. So that's what they've found to be the average, is the increase in cost for labor and materials is 2.5% a month. And it probably has gone up from the last time we spoke to Park Hill. But I talked with Mike Baker and he says we're factoring in 2.5. So we tell boards that are looking at bonds, all right, so when do y'all want to run the bond? A year from now? Okay, take 12 months, multiply it by 2.5, and that's what you need to ask for. Don't ask for what you think you need today, add 2.5%. So that's how they're factoring in inflation, at 2.5% a month, which is terrifying.
Again, I think we were very fortunate to have had the voters get behind us and pass it when we did. And we were also really fortunate that we do have some interest earnings that we're able to put back on some of these contingency plans as we go along, so.
And we were lucky that the majority of the projects were bid before COVID hit. And, yeah, if, there are other districts that bid, that passed bonds when we did, but bid after COVID, and they can't finish their projects. So we're fortunate that all but one was bid before COVID hit.
Any more questions, comments, board? Was that it?
All right, that's it.
Okay. Well, make a motion to consider and approve the change of orders of Plainview La Mesa Elementary School.
I'll make a motion that we approve the change order to the Plainview La Mesa Elementary School.
Thank you, Ms. Alessandra. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Alessandra. We got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion passed 5-0.
Okay. If I can get 10 minutes for student discipline executive session matter.
Go La Mesa.
All right. Okay, at this time, we're going to closed session. It is 12:39. We're going to closed session on Government Code 551001, deliberation discipline, Texas Code 551.074.
Well, they'll fix them for you if you have
Yeah.
them. All right,
All right, the time is
108.
1:08, and we come back from full session. Is there any more business before this board?
No, sir.
If not, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all. I'll give Sylvia and Joanne a call.